Okay, well, we are going to cover some interesting things today. I'm going to tell you it is going to be super interesting because we're going to cover, where are people coming from? Where are they moving to from the villages, from Sumter County to Sumter County? We're going to look at the migration pattern today for some people that might be interested in that. Say hi if you're watching. Love to hear how you're doing. And of course, please like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Glenn Stein, Realty Executives here, and we've been here since 2004 as a company, by the way. And it just has flown by. It's been 18 plus years in the community. We've been in the same building on 466, right off of Buena Vista and 466, the three-story building there, for 16 years, since 2006, going on 17 years. So we're going to talk about migration patterns. We're going to talk about what's going on currently in the MLS in the villages. I was out of town last week, so sorry I missed everybody last week, but a couple of weeks have passed, and this is what we have when we're looking at, let's take a look at what's happened in MLS. Let's take a look at that. We're going to look at in the last, we've got by the way, we have 331 properties on the market right now. 331 properties on the market. So we're gonna look at 331 properties on the market, and we're gonna look at, in a moment, as soon as I pull that up, we're gonna look at the 7-day numbers. But let's jump into, before we get into the numbers, let's look at what's happening as far as migration patterns, right? We're gonna flip a little bit. Like Sumter County, we've had 51,000 people over a tremendous amount of period of time here. Like when you're looking at 1985 to 2019, Sumter County gained 51,000 people from various areas in Florida. Okay, this is not the total amount, but it gives you an idea of where people are coming from. So this is coming from, by the way, this is howmoneywalks.com. howmoneywalks.com, and it's giving you an idea of what counties are, where people are moving from. So look at Broward County. We're looking at Broward County, which is essentially Fort Lauderdale, Hillsborough County, which is Tampa area, Palm Beach County, which is, West Palm Beach and, the southern area of Florida, and Suffolk County in New York, which is Long Island, and Pinellas County, which is St. Petersburg. It's pretty much where most of the people are coming from over the last, we start looking at the last year, most of the people came from these markets, right? When you're talking about concentrated areas. And this is basically based on IRS info stats, right? Like this is exactly where it comes from. So it gives you an idea of where people are coming from there. So, but let's also look at what's happened with, let me pull this up here. Let's take a look at where people actually moved out of. So we gained this much, right? You're seeing this spot, 1,500 people from Broward County, 1,200 people from Hillsborough, 1,100 from Palm Beach, 1,100 from Long Island, New York, 1,100 from Pinellas County or St. Pete. And then obviously we lost some population, 311 people to Citrus County, and a handful of people in Texas, and we lost 4 people Leon County. I'm not sure why, but Citrus County, probably because of the retirement pool, Citrus County with, Crystal River, Beverly Hills, there's a couple of places out in Citrus County that are retirement spots. That's my hallucination. That's my thinking, right? This is according to IRS data on howmoneywalks.com. So one thing it does say, if you look at this, I want to show you this chart here. This chart's super interesting because, it shows, okay, back in 85, 86, hardly anybody moved to Sumter County. And it's like, as the villages grew, they're looking at, this is right here where my cursor is 05. That's really when things started to take off. And then you're looking at the, 2010s, from 2010 all the way to 2019. 2019, this is where most of the growth has taken place. You're probably talking about another 40, 50,000 people there that have reported. Obviously not everybody files for income taxes. Not everybody's super honest when they file their taxes, but this tells you about where people are coming from, right? Like coming from Broward County, coming from Hillsborough County, Palm Beach County, and also not too surprising, we're looking at, Suffolk County, Long Island. That's a big deal. Now let's look at the wealth. This is super interesting data as well. Like Lake County, when you're talking about, remember the first set of data we looked at was basically how much money and where the money's coming from, right? Meaning more money was coming from these areas, or the people that moved from those areas actually filed their income taxes and they made more money than other places. Now, let's look at population, right? Like, population and money is, two different things here, right? Like the wealth, this is what we're looking at. Go back to population. This is where the people are moving from, right? Like population, this is where people are moving from. Income, Lake County, Florida, Broward County, Suffolk County, Marion County, and Pinellas, right? Just to, I think I reversed that a second ago, but not to clarify. Now what we're looking at, most of the money came from Lake County, Broward County, Suffolk County, Long Island, Marion County, Ocala, or maybe they moved from the northern part of the villages, Pinellas County, St. Pete. So that tells you a lot right there. That most of the money is coming from Lake County, and it could be from the northern part of Orlando, or it could be, Lake County could be also other parts of the villages. It's hard to say. Then they moved to, maybe they bought new construction, so it could have been a cross lateral move, Lady Lake area. Maybe they moved, just south of 466A Pinellas, and then they bought new construction south of 44 or south of the Turnpike. That's possible, or around the Turnpike area. But I think there's some congruency here, some parallel. If you look at the population movement back here, Broward, Hillsborough, Palm Beach, Suffolk County, Pinellas, right here, right? Broward, Lake County was a new introduction, but Suffolk County, Marion County is a newer introduction, and Pinellas is very consistent there. Citrus County, as far as where we were looking at this before, we're looking at population mode. The most amount of people that moved from Sumter County, this is not the entire villages, but Sumter County in the last year. Lost population, Citrus County, and then you're looking at, actually, this isn't the last year, it's 2019 numbers, moved to Citrus County. There's nothing that's more accurate than this at the moment that I've seen. If you've got some ideas of where to find something a little bit more accurate. But I thought it was interesting, the flow. Really, the most interesting things are the flow of the population, where people have come from. And then this is a super cool thing where it's actually adjusting the gross income adjusted over the last, last 12 minutes. We've got $6,500 more dollars that have come into the marketplace on the average based on people moving. Now, when you're looking at this greater map of Florida, this tells you basically, okay, well, this is where people are coming from. There are two markets, and now I remember Leon County is actually Tallahassee and the state capital, and Miami-Dade. Those are the two counties that are seeing people move out. Alachua County is another one. These are places where people have, these are counties where the population has decreased and increases almost everywhere else, including Marion, Sumter, and Lake counties, which is where the villages is, right? So that tells you that there's a healthy amount of people moving in. If you want to look at, Marion County, you're seeing very similar influx from Broward, Palm Beach County, also Miami-Dade. Orange County, California is a little bit of a different move that we didn't see in the villages necessarily, but Marion County. And then you look at Lake County, it's Orange County, Florida, which is, Orlando. They just moved a little bit further north. Seminole County, a little bit further south. Broward County, Dade, and Palm Beach. So we're seeing an influx. I think what we're seeing is that we're seeing a much bigger influx of people moving from South Florida, and it's something that a lot of times it goes unnoticed that most of the people moving into our area are moving from South Florida, and South Florida, and also kind of South Central Tampa, St. Pete area. If there's a takeaway out of this, it's kind of the little bit of a surprise in all of this. Let's take a look at MLS for a minute. So we're looking at 331 properties on the market. Stabilization, mostly stabilization. I feel like this is a little bit of a stair-stepping process. Inventory incrementally going up, so slight increases in inventory going up, I think is what we're seeing here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up at 400 properties by the end of the year, as far as being active on the market in the villages. New listings, 45 new listings, 28 pendings. 45 is a nice increase and nice refreshing of inventory, but 28 properties pending, that's a little bit light. That surprises me the last 7 days. That's a little bit of a surprise. Price decreases 49. People are adjusting, sellers are adjusting their price. So, that's an interesting bit of news that's going on right at the moment. Want to also talk about something else I want to talk about. I didn't plan on talking about it, but I do want to revise something. I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked me a question recently, and it was in the chat. This is probably a month ago, and it was about FIRPTA, and I answered it incorrectly. I got a clarification on it. And with FIRPTA, which is basically the foreign tax that is, if you're a foreigner and you sell a home in the villages or anywhere else in the United States for that matter, you are subject to withholdings. In other words, title companies are responsible for withholding up to 15% of the proceeds of the property sale, just in case you owe taxes, because it's the only way for the IRS, for the government to collect taxes, especially if you sell a property and you leave the country and you don't come back. How is the government supposed to collect taxes? That's the mechanism behind it. And the question was, and I want to clarify this, that the question was, if you own if the property is owned by a corporation, a U.S. held corporation, then taxes don't have to be withheld, which is actually true. So a foreigner, technically, it doesn't matter where they're from, can get a corporation, a Florida-owned corporation, a Florida registered corporation, and own the property through this corporation. The corporation owns it, and of course, a shareholder in the corporation could be a foreign citizen. In that case, technically, from the people I've talked to about this, FIRPTA experts, in that case, actually, that seems to be a loophole around the withholding. But look, if you're a foreign citizen, wherever you're from, Canada, or we get a lot of Canadian citizens and folks from the UK, definitely get some tax advice from your CPA, from your accountant. Talk to a FIRPTA expert. There's several of them. And if you need some recommendations, let me know. But I do want to clarify that. So a couple of big things. One, inventory it's going up a little bit, stabilizing a little bit as well, not going up dramatically high, but kind of stair-stepping up in the villages over the last couple of months, up to 331. And interesting flow of the population coming from South Florida over the last 5 to 10 years, mostly from South Florida and Long Island, New York, and a few from California if you want to talk about the Marion County area. But when you talk about Sumter County, mostly South Florida and also Long Island. If you have questions, comments in the chat. There's some interesting things. If you paid attention to that map, there's some interesting things to point out. So if you want to leave some comments, that would be great.